This is Fowl Players Radio, your podcast for arts, entertainment, and pop culture. Welcome. My name is Michael Spedden, your host. Every episode features fun, fascinating stories about people in the performing arts, actors, authors, dancers, writers, musicians, athletes, you name it. Folks who are center stage, backstage, on camera, or behind the scenes. Sit back and listen. Let's have some fun. Fowl Players Radio is a proud production of the Fowl Players Group and the official podcast of the Fowl Players of Perryville.
Hey, you guys, this is Gina Shock, drummer of the Go-Go's.
Snowman here.
Hey, Mary Jo Peel here.
Hi, this is Kathy Ladman.
Hi, this is Jay Nedry from the Road Dogs.
This is A.D. Adams, and you are tuned in to Fowl Players Radio with your host, Michael Spedden.
And welcome back to another episode of Fowl Players Radio. This is Michael Spedden. Tonight's guest is Joel Hoekstra. Joel was gracious enough to spend some time with us before he heads off to Europe to continue his tour with Brandon Gibbs. And then he's going to come back to the States for the Trans Siberian Orchestra tour this winter. He has a brand new album out, Joel Hoekstra's 13, Crash of Life. We talked about the music and the musicians that made it happen. It was quite a lineup indeed on this album. For more information on Joel Hoekstra, his music, tour dates, merch, and everything else, see the links listed in the show notes for that and his social media. His main website is joelhoekstra.com. Don't miss the Back of the Rack, the Michael Spedden Show on 97underground.com, Baltimore's pure rock worldwide, every Tuesday from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Songs you forgot you liked, classic and current local and regional music, and the classics that never die. In search of some great professional comedic entertainment for your venue, fundraiser, or other event, please consider A Murder Mystery from the Fowl Players of Perryville. We have clean, funny shows for every occasion. Our website is fowlplayersofperryville.com. Our email, fowlplayersperryville@yahoo.com, or 443-600-0446 for more information. The holidays are right around the corner, and I would love to encourage you to shop small and support the guests of Fowl Players Radio in their endeavors. Follow the links in every episode's show notes to see where you can buy our guests' music, books, merchandise, tickets to performances, you name it. Come out and support these artists now. We'll be back with Joel Hoekstra right after these words. Virginia, are you ready to rock? 97underground.com presents the ultimate metal show of the year at Backseat Events, Winchester, Virginia, featuring the legendary Slaughter, Saturday, October 21st.
I wanna spend my life with you.
Slaughter will blow your mind with their shredding riffs and brutal vocals. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to see the amazing Foreign Company, one of the hottest new bands on the scene.
But now you got to fly.
VIP and general admission tickets available at backseatevents.com. Doors at 7, show at 8 p.m. Slaughter at the Backseat Event Center, Saturday, October 21st. This is a night of live music you won't forget. So grab your tickets now and join the metal madness. And welcome again to another episode of Fowl Players Radio. Tonight, we are honored to have Mr. Joel Hoekstra with us. Joel, what is Joel not up to? I mean, every time you turn around, he's up to something else. You know, if he's not with Cher, he's with Whitesnake, he's with TSO, he's doing his own projects. I just happened to see him with Brandon Gibbs a few weeks ago up in Sellersville, PA at that theater. It was a great show. And I picked up a great new album that Joel's just released. I mean, you know, what are you not up to, man? It's great to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, you know, just trying to stay busy one way or another musically. That's it's good for a couple of reasons. You know, work kind of creates work, so it helps you in terms of making a living. And then the second thing is I think it just helps you improve as a musician. So the more work you have and the more time you spend doing it, the better you get, hopefully.
Well, you know, I don't think there's much more you can do in that area, you know. I mean, it's just, you know, I mean, it's just, you know.
Oh, there definitely is. There definitely is. Yeah. Trust me. Yeah. No matter how long you go at it, you always wish you were a lot better. So for sure.
Well, you know, I mean, we're all our own harshest critics, I think, but I've just seen you every time I've seen you, and it's been quite a few times, you know, it's just amazing work and all the things I've heard you do. So saying that, You have a brand new album out, and I picked up a copy. And if this shows up through Zoom, well, we'll make
Yeah.
sure that we get the graphic for it here.
I got it right here too.
Boom, there you go. There you
Look at
go.
that. Screenshot, thumbnail.
Right, gotcha. So, tell us about this. You have a great ensemble of musicians, and it seems like, being with TSO and affiliated with that. I mean, you pretty much have, you could probably just pick up the phone one day and go through not your Rolodex, but your contacts, and you could probably pick about 20 different great bands you could at your beck and call to record with at any time with the contacts that you have. I know, I see Jeff Scott Soto, been a past guest on this show, who is doing backing vocals and was on your other album too, the other one. You've got, Derek, his last name, I forget how to pronounce it. Sherinian. Dream Theater and Sons of Apollo. And, your singer, I really like your singer. He really sounds great. And I think that he and Jeff Scott Soto really complement each other well. Did you find that too? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the backstory on Joel Hoekstra's 13, and the reason there's a separate name for that. I had 3 solo albums out years ago that were basically instrumental. Kind of like you'd expect from a guitar player when they have a solo album, right? Kind of lots of fancy guitar stuff, and then. But a little more along the lines of like the fusion-y kind of stuff. That was more what I was into at that time. And so as I became more well-known for being a part of the bands that I joined Night Ranger, and then the Broadway show Rock of Ages, and then Trans Siberian Orchestra, then Whitesnake. So I had a lot of fans that were like, how come you don't have any solo albums that reflect that style, And so I thought that made solid sense, and it was something that I wanted to do. So I sort of founded Joel Hoekstra's 13 and looked at that as my rock project, because I wasn't too interested in making these albums be just all about the guitar work. I really wanted them to be about the songs, because that's what got me into that style of music to begin with. So it's very song oriented and sounds like a band, but the hitch being that I do all the writing. So I write all the lyrics, the vocal melodies, all the riffs, everything. So it's not really fair to those guys to call it like a band per se. So it's just considered like my rock side project, essentially, Joel Hoekstra's 13. And so I released Dying to Live in 2015. And basically it was already working with bassist Tony Franklin on a separate project. So I asked him if he'd be into it, asked him who he thought was a good idea for drums, and he recommended Vinny Appice. And that was good for me, because I'd actually, been a fan of Vinny's when I was a kid, but we had never crossed paths. We'd never met. We never played together, nothing. So I thought that sounded like a lot of fun. So Vinny was on board. And then at that time, Russell Allen joined Trans Siberian Orchestra, and Russell's who sang on Dying to Live, basically on the half of the record. And then Jeff Scott Soto was somebody who's been a friend of mine for a while, who I said, hey, would you want to do me a favor, like a super solid, and sing backing vocals on this album? Like, it would be amazing, and it would be over the top cool. And, Jeff is the consummate pro and did me a favor and did that for me on there. And then Derek Sherinian, you mentioned, on keyboards. So it's just great sounds, great parts, amazing player. And then I made the follow-up to that record, Running Games, and same exact lineup, except this time Russell sang lead on the entire album. Jeff ended up singing lead on half of Dying to Live, just basically out of Russell's schedule. And so Russell sang lead on Running Games with everybody else the same lineup. And then this record, once again, same lineup, except for, once again, with Russell's schedule and everything, I just opted to go with a new singer, somebody who's kind of up and coming, Girish Pradhan out of India, who's really amazing.
Oh, yes.
Kind of a phenom. He's working with George Lynch and Jeff Pilson in the End Machine as well. So, he's going to be a little bit more of a household name here as the days go by. His star is on the rise. And so Girish has his own band, Girish and the Chronicles. He sings a little bit more like, it sounds like old Skid Row or something, when you listen, a lot of high screaming. which wasn't necessarily what I'm looking for on this. My model has always been kind of like the Ronnie James Dio mashed up with like Lou Gramm and Paul Rogers. That's always the guys that I cite. So basically I gave him the stuff and told him what I was looking for. And then he really just came up with these amazing performances that blew my mind. I mean, I think he did an outstanding job singing on the record. And so I think he's an amazing talent and glad to have him. So, and there you go. And so that album is called Crash of Life, the one that I held up. So we've got Dying to Live, Running Games, and Crash of Life. Those are the 3 albums from Joel Hoekstra 13.
Yeah, this is just excellent work here. I've been listening to it since I bought it, and the every song really seems to take you to a different place, and there's just so much. Really, I mean, all the parts that you put in there. This is just there's a complexity to it that I think but things just really blend so well. The vocals, I think that your vocalists complement each other very, very well. The guitar parts that you're putting in there, the one song Torn into Lies, you have got that great lead opening to it and everything. It's almost like like a big it seemed almost, I guess, like a rock anthem or something, just this great lead going into it. Into a great song there. Another one that I really liked was Through the Night, especially like towards the middle of the song. There's that part where they're singing "I'm Needing You." It's like that's really a really great break in there.
Yeah, cool. The bridge section of that song. Yeah, you hear Jeff a lot in that section. You hear the backing vocals a lot in there. I think actually maybe it's only backing vocals in that section. I'm not sure what we ended up going with in the mix, but yeah, thank you. I mean, Torn into Lies was something that I think Vinny took that to a lot of cool places with his different feels and sections. It's one thing about him is Vinny doesn't just play like a standard session drummer. He'll kind of play some bold and unexpected things at times. And Through the Night as well, actually, Vinny really changed the direction of that song. Like I had heard that by the end of the song, you'll hear him playing it up. But he's playing that song basically in halftime through like the whole, like about the first 2/3 of the song. And I didn't hear it that way. I heard it the way the last third of the song is, with it being kind of an up song. But his playing on it was so cool that I just rolled with it. And that's kind of the way I do it. So as much as I write everything on all this stuff, I also pretty much give it to the guys, and whatever they play, I kind of roll with, because it's fun. It's part of the fun of it, is having them take it someplace different than I thought it was going to go.
Right. And it said on here that you were also the producer of the album. I mean, were you doing all the mixing and engineering as well? Or was that somebody else?
Chris Collier basically does the mixing and engineering, but I kind of give him notes on all that throughout, and definitely oversee the mix essentially. I mean, it's my opportunity to kind of have the mix as I would want to hear it. And really everything. I mean, just kind of approving the artwork and, like I said, writing everything. It's kind of the opportunity for me to, I don't know, I guess be, I'm looking for the correct term, but just be the boss, I guess, for a second. I mean, I love the democratic process of like working with everybody in a band as well, and kind of seeing where the chemistry takes things. But it's also fun every once in a while just have it be your thing.
Right. Well, the thing is too, I mean, you were talking about the democratic process with this lineup of people you have in there. I mean, you've got a lot of great brains to pick, no doubt about that. Some great experienced people in here. I mean, Tony Franklin with the Firm and all the things that he's done over the years. Of course, you, Vinny. I mean, my God, what a rock and roll icon. I mean, how were you able to, where did you first connect with him?
Well, through Tony, because Tony and I had just done that VHF project, and then Tony was the one to recommend Vinny. Right. Yeah, and that sounded like a good idea. I kind of started getting this vision of, all right, Tony with his gritty fretless sound, and I thought, maybe kind of Sabbathy or something, and kind of Dying to Live ended up having quite a variety of sounds on it. Crash of Life does as well, actually. Those albums are a little bit more like diverse, and Running Games is a little more like of as like a, I guess a cohesive sound, but I kind of like all over the map, to be honest with you. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not really, as a musician, I don't necessarily come from just one place. Like, I'm
Mhm.
pretty open-minded. So when I make a record of my own, it's really hard for me to narrow it down to like, hey, let's write 12 songs that all sound the same.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
I kind of like having it be
It
varied.
it is. It's very, what am I want to say? It's very varied. I think like I said, it's a different journey each song is. Like that opening of "You're Right for Me," that's like, a really fun sounding song. I really like that. It's like a nice, beginning to that song, and of course the
Yeah,
rest.
that's the Jimmy Page and me right there. Taking the open
Mhm.
tuning. It's actually on acoustic that's played, and I added some
Yeah.
distortion to it. But playing that, writing that part in open tuning, and then, as I always tend to do, I'll have these songs like that, but then my chorus will end up being poppy or something.
Mhm.
Try and write like a hooky, catchy chorus, and um, like "Don't Have Words" is kind of the same thing, but that's like an AC/DC vibe song. It's kind of
Mhm.
like a
Yep.
straight ahead rocker, but then when the chorus comes up, it's the chorus that AC/DC wouldn't have. It's a little bit poppier sounding or something.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just kind of the, part of my style is to want to write the chorus that sticks with everybody.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is just, very, very well done. And folks, I highly recommend that you pick this up. JoelHoekstra.com is where you can find it. And I did see inside of your booklet, Joel, that you have a whole list of links where your social media is and everything else. And that will be shared in the show notes. And I will put graphics up with all that throughout this episode when it airs too.
Cool. Thank
Um,
you.
yeah. Well, congratulations on a job well done. This is, like I said, it's a great album, and I highly recommend it to everybody. I give it 2 thumbs up, 5 stars, whatever you want to say. I just have to tell you, it was very. I enjoy it. I really do.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, you are getting ready to head across the pond. You're shipping off and leaving us to head to Europe for a while, huh?
Yeah, Brandon and Gibbs and I are doing about 2.5 weeks over there, starting up October 6th. So
Hmm.
just, yeah, right around the bend here. Went through everything today musically.
Hmm.
So getting myself together. And yeah, that's something that, I think Brandon and we set out to do these just for fun years
Hmm.
ago when we started doing them. And I think we're both kind of surprised. I mean, we toured the UK earlier this year with it, did a couple weeks over there, and now Europe for 2.5 weeks this year. The fact that this has gone international is kind of like something that neither one of us ever pictured. And that makes it fun. It's like
Hmm.
it's just fun how certain things go certain directions that you never picture. And some talk of doing Japan next year,
Hmm.
and the UK and Europe all in hopefully in 1 year. And just kind of amazing considering it's just two guys that just get along and decided
Hmm.
to do it for fun. I mean,
Sure. Yeah.
that's the long and short of it, man. Is we just did it because it was fun. Brandon's a
Hmm.
great guy. I mean, you can
Oh.
tell like, when,
Hmm.
when we hang on stage, that's just how we are off stage. He's a really nice guy, easy to get along with, very talented guy. And we didn't really think much further than that. I mean,
Hmm.
just kind of like, hey, let's. He asked me if I'd be into doing that. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then we had a great time the first time we did it, and um, just kind of kept booking some shows here and there. And now, like I said, all of a sudden it's got legs, and we're like doing, to go international with it is kind of almost, it's just amusing to us actually at the end of the day, because these are supposed to be just fun, kind of casual throwaway
Hmm.
gigs. But people really like them a lot. I mean, we play music from the bands that we're a part of, so we play some Poison and play some
Oh yeah.
Whitesnake and play some Joel Hoekstra's 13, play some Brandon Gibbs solo music, some Devil City Angels, and even a couple covers that we just dig, and
Yeah.
just kind of have a good time.
It was a great show. I mean, I could really tell you were having fun up there, and like I said, like a low stress, enjoyable. The two of you are up there cutting up, and the audience was in with it as well. And I was sitting in there, and it was a lot of getting into the music and a lot of laughter at the banter in between songs and everything. It was just a really enjoyable evening. And if you come around again, I'll be there, and I highly recommend that people come see it.
Thanks.
just a great, enjoyable evening it was.
Well, I think there's a few things about it. I mean, from my perspective, the bigger things that I'm a part of, I'm not going to obviously talk between songs during Whitesnake or talk between songs during Trans Siberian. So it gives people an opportunity to, like, I guess, hear some of my banter and even, like, I sing a little bit in the show, which you heard, and like that's something that people never hear. So it's just kind of fun to kind of throw people these curveballs and be like, hey, this is going to happen right now. And I think too that the bigger bands, you've got a certain percentage of the audience that actually remembers who you are or knows who you are when they leave. And those are the people that tend to come to shows like this. So I mean, the shows are smaller and we're playing small venues and things like that. But what's cool about it is the people that are there are the ones that actually really care. And they're not like the casual fan showing up going, who is this? They're the ones who like saw you with the bigger bands and would love to come see you in the smaller place. And we pretty much say hello to every single person at these. I mean, there's like, there's not a time where we haven't said hello and shook everybody's hand and said hello and taken a picture. And so, there's a huge upside to that because I think it just gives you an opportunity to connect with the people that actually really care about it.
Yes. One thing that I noticed, and I was telling my wife, I said, I'm looking around the audience and you can basically see a history of your career in the people's t-shirts that they're wearing into the venue, you know what I mean? You can see, from different bands you've been in, people are coming to see you and wearing them. And I just, like I said, you have, so many different fan bases, I guess, to draw from that are, coming to see this next thing that you're doing. And again, it was just a great evening. It was just a really great evening. I mean, both of you just did a hell of a job with it. So you're going to be doing Europe, and then I guess you've got the TSO tour after that.
Yeah, I have been, unbelievably enough, there's promo being shot in that 1 week off I have between for the follow-up to this. Revolution Saints with Dean Castronovo from Journey and Jeff Pilson from Foreigner. So the follow-up record's already recorded, so waiting for that to come out. And so we're going to shoot the promo in there. In that week window that I have between Europe and going to Trans Siberian Orchestra. So, but Trans Siberian Orchestra, that's definitely put your boots on, get ready to work, man. It's the Marines of rock, I call it. We do like 8 shows a week, and so it's a lot of shows in a very short amount of time. But realistically, who wants to come see a holiday show in the middle of August? So it has to make sense. You've got to get as much done as you can around that time. And I love it. I mean, it's great. I've been a part of TSO now since 2010. So I've been there 13 years. We have a really great, bond amongst the band members and really with the fan base too. You see some of them at the Brandon shows. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. They don't always have an opportunity to come hang as much, and they like to see what you're doing outside of Trans Siberian. And they've got a great fan base. A whole lot of them I consider more my friends than fans at this point in time, after just as many years as they've been coming to the shows. And we got a lot of repeat offenders, people that come to show after show after show, and even come to city. Like the Grateful Dead of Christmas. Got a real amazing incredible fan base, Trans Siberian, and it's an amazing production and an incredible pool of talent. So, I always feel honored to be there and be a part of the show.
I know what you mean by that, because there's a couple of seasons when we went out, we saw Baltimore, Hershey, and Philly. And, I said, hey, we're, like I said, we were like deadheads almost following you around from city to city. And, I mean, it's well worth it too, but I could just imagine. I mean, it's not like you're playing for 45 minutes and then you're coming back on stage 3 or 4 hours later. I mean, you're doing is it like a 2.5 hour show?
That's usually about like 210, 215, something like that. Yeah. Somewhere.
And then, then everybody leaves. And then I'm sure you probably just have a chance to maybe, sit down, grab a glass of water, and then you're right back out there after everybody comes and sits down.
It's definitely, you can look at it 2 ways. You can say like, well, I mean, that's a lot of work and that's exhausting, but the other side to that is like, where else will you get the opportunity to be in front of 10,000 people for 4.5 hours a day? And that's
Yeah.
that on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are usually the double show days.
Mhm.
And that's a great opportunity for a musician, that's something that, you can't get like filming video for YouTube or to upload on Instagram. You've
Mhm.
got to have that experience of actually getting out and playing for large audiences, and it's been incredibly good for me to have the opportunity to do that. And quite frankly, when I go out with other bands and have a normal tour schedule, it feels like I'm on vacation. When I'm out with
Yeah.
Whitesnake and we're playing 4 shows a week, and
Mhm.
that feels significantly easier than 8. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's good for building that up as well. And honestly, I don't mind it. I'm really, really used to it after this many years. I don't think twice about the workload.
Mhm. I can imagine though. The other thing I was kind of thinking about is that you guys go out there, you're dressed pretty heavily. I mean, you're not out there like Anthrax with t-shirts and shorts on. You're out there wearing like a full jacket with tails in the back, and a full long, and you're standing right next to these gas fires that are shooting up. And I'm usually like halfway back in the arena where I'm sitting, and I'm like ready to take off my jacket from sitting there. I'm sure you guys are probably burning up standing next to things like that, huh? I mean, you got to watch it too, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty easy rule. It's like you stay in front of, there's a line essentially where the pyro occurs, and the
Mhm.
songs where the pyro is going to be used, and you make sure to stand in front of it,
Mhm.
at a reasonable distance. And the only exception being that we had some pyro down in front of
Mhm.
us for a bit that was actually not too painful. Like if there's, I don't know if there's some shots that exist of me kind of sticking my guitar in the pyro and
Yeah.
deflecting.
Yep.
That was something that Paul O'Neill showed us that we could do with it, and that it was
Mhm.
harmless. And if it did hit you, it was just like a little tick, just like
Mhm.
it didn't hurt bad at all. And so we would take it with our guitars and angle
Mhm.
the pyro around, and that was good fun. So I'm not sure if we'll have that this year or not. It's the production is always different, and they're always
Mhm.
going bigger and better. So but yeah, it's certainly not every day you get to go out on arms out over the arena and play for the upper deck. And
Mhm.
I mean, I've done all kinds of crazy stuff, being especially somebody who's scared of heights, going through that kind of stuff with TSO. It's like, that I tell people all the time, it's a labor of love. You
Mhm.
might work really hard out there, but it's also like, I I do it just because I go, well, I'm scared of heights, but like, when else am I going to do this in my life? And
Mhm.
I don't want to look back and go, "Guy, I guess I should have gotten up on that thing and just sucked it up." And
Right.
so I might be terrified half of the
Mhm.
time, but it's like it's still great fun for me to be up there, and try to not act terrified for the audience. But
Mhm.
no, it's an amazing production. Really, the product, the thing about Trans Siberian is that Trans Siberian Orchestra, the show itself is the star. It's not,
Mhm.
it's not necessarily like about my guitar playing or any individual.
Mhm.
There's a lot of talent in the band, but
Oh,
we always take
without a
our
doubt.
talent and we go like, how can we make the best possible show for everybody? And everybody
Mhm.
kind of sets aside their personal stuff to just kind of make that happen.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Yep. And then you have people in the group from all over the world, Britain, and a couple of the singers I think are from Denmark and Germany. I was looking on the website and looking at bios. The keyboardist is, I think she's from Korea.
Yeah, yeah, me and on our side, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, look, that's something that goes back to the name.
Hmm.
Obviously, the name gets a lot of grief these days because trans has taken on so many different, such a different meaning these days in the media. But Paul O'Neill's vision was the Trans Siberian Railway, which brings all these cultures together and connects the world.
Yeah.
So I think that was part of Paul's vision, is to have a show where there was something for everybody. And as cliche as that may sound, he's actually succeeded in that. It's like you can look out and see children in the audience, you can see
Hmm.
parents, you can see grandparents, and everybody's there for a different reason. The kids, they love the the pyro and the laser light show, and seeing us on all the hydraulic lifts and all that stuff, and the video screen, the width of the arena and all that stuff. And then, the parents, usually my generation, they're there because they want to rock. They just want a rock show.
Right.
And then the grandparents, they like the story on the front end, and, they kind of gravitate towards that, and it puts them in the holiday mood, and it gets them in the holiday spirit. And so it really is a unique show for those that haven't seen it. I mean, it's the only way to really describe it is to come see it. But it's really, there's nothing else like it. And it's just cool to be a part of that. Paul had a really unique vision, and I think probably when he laid it out on paper, I'm imagining most people in the room looked at him and thought he was absolutely crazy, thinking that was going to work. Like if you said, "Hey man, we're going to take a rock band and we're going to add an orchestra and we're going to have a story on the front end and we're going to have all yeah, lots of luck, dude. Have a good, have fun with that." But, it's great that Paul got the last laugh. This is something that he wanted to live on as a tradition. And I think we're there. I mean, I feel like TSO is becoming ingrained in American culture, at least.
It is.
As far as surrounding the holiday season. I mean, the music is, I forget what I read. They gave me a talking point sheet when I did press for them this year, but it was staggering the amount of audio and streams that the music had received. It was something just completely insane. I thought I was like hallucinating, but just millions and millions of streams. It was sold, I think it's over 18 million tickets now at this point in time to come see the show. And I forget how many albums here, over 12 million, I want to say, sold. And then it was something like ridiculous, like I forget, 750 million streams or something like that. I mean, just staggering. So, and you hear it in and out the commercial on sporting events. It's really just, between the viral light shows to Wizards in Winter that people like to do. It's just kind of become part of like the holiday tradition in America, which is, it's cool to be a part of that.
It really has. It really has. And it's almost like you're becoming a tradition. Like people like to go to New York City and see the Christmas tree at Rockefeller. They like to see the Rockettes Christmas show. Now you got to catch TSO, just like the Disney on Ice and everything else that comes around. And again, folks, highly recommended that you go see TSO. If you haven't seen TSO, get out of the cave that you're living in and go see them this year, because it'll be well worth it. It'll be just an amazing concert. I know we're limited on time here, and I received death threats if I didn't ask you about this. So I have to ask you about, you've been with Whitesnake, of course, Night Ranger, TSO, your solo projects, and you've also been out on the road with Cher. How did this come about? Were you recommended by somebody? Tell us this story, how you got there.
Yeah, David Coverdale was going to have knee surgery, or did have knee surgery in 2017. So we were going to take the year off from touring. And I just kind of reached out to a bunch of friends and said, "Hey, I'm not really looking for a new gig, but, we're not going to go out this year. So if anybody knows anybody that needs a sub or a fill-in." And it turned out that my friend Justin Derrico plays guitar for Pink, and on the television show The Voice, was working on The Voice as well. The other guitarist was Cher's guitarist, Dave Barry. And Dave was like, "Man, I need to find a sub for Cher. We're busy here with the TV show." And Justin had just gotten the text from me and said, "I know this might sound crazy, but how about Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake?" And I just basically learned everything just as Dave played it, and maybe changed a couple of the little like fancy lead moments to more what I would do. And things went well. And I mean, I was supposed to go in for just like a few shows, and it ended up really turning into a few years. So much more than I ever would have anticipated. One of those fun things that kind of comes out of nowhere. I always say to people, I was not 11 years old playing Black Sabbath riffs on my guitar going, someday I'm going to play with Cher. But it's one of those things that when it does occur and when it happens, it turns out to be this amazing, fun moment and incredible blessing, And Yeah, I mean the other example with that would be Rock of Ages on Broadway that ran over
Mhm.
6 years, and that really changed my life for the better in a huge way. And that's now, again, that was nowhere in the plans when I was a kid picking up the guitar playing. I mean,
Mhm.
you picture yourself in a band. You want to be an AC/DC or in Black Sabbath or something of that nature, and so to have those two items, like, or I don't know, items is the right thing, but those two gigs work out. That's like things that you just can't see coming, and you can
Mhm.
only get that kind of thing in life if you just stay open-minded and work hard at stuff. And that's what I just recommend any young musicians out there: have an open mind and just try to outwork everybody and work really hard at any opportunities that come your way.
Absolutely, absolutely. You had mentioned during the your show up in Sellersville that both of you had discussed a little bit about how you know growing up, there was, well, a cause that's important to both of you was, anti-bullying and things like that, and how, you had just mentioned being a young man playing Black Sabbath riffs, and growing into the guitar player that you were now. You kind of alluded to the fact that your guitars were kind of your haven growing up. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the way things worked out for me. I was skipped ahead a year in school, and
Me
so
too.
I was kind of like, the little kid, believe it or not, because I'm
Mhm.
really pretty tall now compared to
Yeah.
to most people I'm in bands with. I mean, I'm 6'3", but when I started high school, I was 5'4".
Hmm.
So everybody else was growing, and I was just this, littler kid. And I think initially I had been into sports, and guitar just kind of became my thing. It was like my plan to, get somewhere in life at that point in time. Just I'd go home from school and I'd spend as much time with it as I could
Hmm.
till I go to bed and go back to school. And even those summers, I mean, before I had to have day jobs, I remember being extremely dedicated and practicing 6 hours a day and things like that, when most kids at 14, 15 years old were probably just out like hanging out and playing and stuff. So
Hmm.
sorry, I had something going on the wrong way.
That's
But
okay.
that really, yeah, I suppose, for better or for worse, guitar became the thing.
Hmm.
That was going to be my way out. It ended up working out, really.
Right. Well, at this point, what I would like to do is offer you the chance. This is called the shameless plug time, where you can shamelessly plug anything you'd like to shamelessly plug. You can be as shameless as you want and spare no shamelessness. So go ahead and have at it right before, and then we'll wrap it up.
Oh, well, I mean, we already mentioned Crash of Life, Joel Hoeskstra 13, Crash of Life.
Hmm.
Everybody get that. And the albums before that were Running Games and Dying to Live. So please, everybody get that. And then we mentioned Revolution Saints. That's with Dean Castronovo and Jeff Pilson. And there will be a follow-up album out, I believe early 24. I don't really know the release date on that yet, but and then another project I have happening is called Iconic, with my Whitesnake bandmate Tommy Aldridge
Love it.
and Michael Sweet from
Hmm.
Striper, singing a bit and playing a bit, and Nathan James from the band Inglorious singing on there, and great bass player Marco Mendoza, who also was in Whitesnake in past years. So um, yeah, those projects, and of course the tour with Brandon and Trans Siberian Orchestra and Whitesnake. I'm still in touch with David all the time, and
Hmm.
as far as that goes, we're all just kind of like, waiting and seeing what David wants to do.
Sure.
But he, either way, he's a tremendous guy, amazing boss. We got a great friendship, and so he's got my full support with whatever he wants to do. And
Mhm.
my main thing is like just having a great working relationship and great friendship with him. And so, yeah, I mean, that covers it all. I mean,
Mhm.
I think I've been going off doing gigs with Broadway's Rock of Ages band
Mhm.
periodically throughout the year as well this year, and teaching guitar virtually here at home, some lessons, and counseling a bit at rock and roll fantasy camps and doing those as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, one way or another, I'm pretty much always working on something.
Yep. And I think in 2027, you have a night's sleep planned in there somewhere, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
somewhere in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it happens on planes. When people ask me when it happens, I said when I fly. That's when I like
Sure.
to I like to sleep for the entire flight and wake up in the next place.
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Well, Joel Hoekstra, thank you so much for joining us on Fowl Players Radio, folks. Links to all of Joel's projects and website, tour dates, and everything will be listed in the show notes. And thank you again for being with us tonight, Joel. I know you've got a busy schedule, as we can all see, but you took the time to join us, and it's much appreciated.
Hey, likewise. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Appreciate it.
Thanks, folks, and we will see you next time. Hello, listeners. We at Fowl Players Radio thank you for all of your support over the past 10 seasons and nearly 300 episodes. We would like to encourage you to keep listening and spread the word. Audio versions of all episodes can be found on our main website, fowlplayersradio.com, as well as on many of the other platforms you can see here. You can find all of our Season 9 and 10 episodes, as well as some best-of episodes and shorts on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@fowlplayersradio. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to get alerts when new episodes are released. No matter what platform you choose to listen, you can help us greatly by hitting the subscribe button and giving us an honest review. You can also help us by supporting us at patreon.com/fowlplayersradio or at buymeacoffee.com/fowlplayerw. Your support makes it possible for us to continue to be your one-stop shop for all of your pop culture needs. Be sure to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for new episode announcements and news and updates on all of our guests. Thank you, and enjoy this episode. And thanks for tuning in to our episode with Joel Hoekstra. We hope you enjoyed the interview. Remember, he has a brand new album out, Joel Hoekstra's 13, Crash of Life. We talked about the music and the musicians that made it happen. Again, what a great lineup of people. Remember his website, www.joelhoekstra.com, and his social media and all the other links to where you can find his things will be in the show notes. Don't miss the Back of the Rack, the Michael Spedden Show on 97underground.com, Baltimore's pure rock worldwide, every Tuesday, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. Songs you forgot you liked, classic and current local and regional music, and the classics that never die. Remember, if you're in search of some professional comedic entertainment for your venue, fundraiser, or other event, please consider a murder mystery from the Fowl Players of Perryville. www.fowlplayersofperryville.com, fowlplayersperryville@yahoo.com, or 443-600-0446 for more information. And finally, the holidays are right around the corner, and I would encourage you to shop small and support the guests of Fowl Players Radio in their endeavors. Follow the links in every episode's show notes to find where you can buy our guests' music, books, merchandise, and tickets to their performances. Come out and support these artists now. Until next time, be well. This is Michael Spedden signing off. We'll see you next time.